like to call the meeting of the trustees to order. And the secretary, please. Oh, wait, the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag,
to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty
and justice for all.
Hey, great. Can the secretary please call the roll?
Yes, certainly. President Schultz,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Welker,
here.
Trustee Warner,
Here.
Trustee Pell,
Present.
Trustee Horowitz.
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum present this afternoon.
Okay, great. So we'll get right into the discussions. The Bay Scholar Population Survey permit for Bullhead Bay, Savannah Creek, West Neck Creek, and Cold Spring Pond. Wayne Carden, Biologist 2, Shellfish Management of the DEC. Wayne here?
I think he brought in Mr. Tettleback.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, great. Are you going to represent everybody, or is Wayne coming too, you know?
I don't know that Wayne was going to be able to make it.
Wade is not going to be on this call.
Okay. So, can you give us some details about what you want to do?
Sure. So this is a program that would be administered.
Uh-oh.
I see Bill.
Not good. I think we lost him.
He's frozen.
Administered through Cornell Cooperative Extension. Right, I'm working with them now. Back.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think.
good.
Okay. So this is a program that would be administered through Cornell, and the basic idea is this is through the Paycheck Protection Program from the federal government, and the idea is to have Bayman do some surveys in water bodies that we don't necessarily have the time to be able to get to. We do a lot of dive surveys throughout the bays, but these are meant to be surveys to supplement the information that we're collecting. And what we're really interested in trying to do is get information that may help us to better understand the die-off that happened last year. So we're particularly interested in some of the creeks in your town waters. And these are areas that, you know, again, we don't know if there are scallops there or not, but if the information that might come out of this would be helpful in our understanding the patterns of die-off that we've seen. As you may know, the die-off extended from Flanders out to Orion Harbor, Northwest Harbor, and was very high across the board. But what we're interested in trying to get more data on is some of the creeks where we had heard reports that there was actually pretty good survival, and that's a very interesting situation. So the surveys would entail doing short 1-minute dredge tows and basically spot tows like Bayman do in the fall prior to the opening of the scallop season. And the only person doing this in Southampton waters would be John Simler. He's the one that's signed on from Southampton. And it would be monitored by one of us from Cornell. That's a stipulation that the DEC has put in place. And we are not seeking any financial remuneration, and neither would John through the town. So basically, we're just asking for permission to be able to do this for a few weeks, and then and that would be it.
When was this going to commence? Were you planning on?
Well, we were hoping that this would have started by now, but the process to get the permit approved has taken a little bit. So basically, you know, as soon as we get approval, we'll do this.
Wouldn't this be better to do it after they spawn? Because they're probably spawning right now.
Billy, they want to do this when they have the availability of manpower, and also there's a limited time because the funding is only for a limited time.
But you also, you know, you have to look up at when they spawn. You could do more damage, hurting the spawn. Or
No, I
distress
understand that.
spawn.
Yeah, like Ed said, our window is until June 20th.
Oh, June 20th, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, Bill, about spawning, and we monitor spawning as part of the work we do at Cornell, and I think it's still a few weeks off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, normally they spawn around the 4th of July. That's usually in Shinnecock Bay. You'll start to see about the 25th or 26th of July, you'll see some juvenile scallop spat. And the
Yeah.
water is much colder than it normally has been previous springs. So I think they're probably about 2 weeks behind in their preparation for spawning.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Well, I think it's a good idea. The more knowledge we have, the better equipped we are to make decisions about how we
Well,
do
I
it.
think it's getting a base point in June to see how many scallops are alive and what percentage. And if there is a die-off, then we'll revisit and we can maybe see when these die-offs happen and have some kind of correlation with whether it was a rain event or some kind of event that happened, mosquito spraying. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on throughout the year that could have potentially weakened the scallops and caused them to die. And I would love to use the science to come up with a base point, a starting base point of the population. And then as the season goes, the summer goes along, if something happens, we'll be able to know when and why it happened.
I think it's a win-win-win. It benefits research, it benefits the Bayman, and it benefits our community.
So you're going to use, you're going to GPS these sites, and you're going to go monitor the same sites through the year to see, how, I know they move around, but are you going to try to go in the same areas on a monthly basis?
No, that was not the plan. Under the PPP, this would be, we have this window until June 20th to do these surveys. And so, whether we have the ability to come back at a later time, that's not clear at this point. But under this program, it would just be until June 20th.
It's only funded through June 20th, right, Steve?
Correct.
I think it's a really good starting point for the scallop season to get a baseline. I said this when we had the die-off last year, that if we had done this in this time of year last year, you would have saw literally hundreds of thousands of scallops. And it would be nice to figure out what point of time that they die so you can correlate something that might have happened in nature or spraying or something. I think it's a good thing it's a good exercise in education for everybody.
Yeah.
I think we should
Right,
grant.
but that would indicate that you're going to do this through the year then, because if you're only doing it in June and you're waiting all the way till October, how are you going to pinpoint when they die if there's no further investigations done through the year to monitor the situation?
Yeah, we have sites that we're going to be monitoring through the summer as part of the work we're doing at Cornell. But, I'd like to be able to say that, we're going to be able to come back, and revisit the systems where these surveys were done in Southampton town waters. But, I can't make that promise. We have a lot of stuff going on and sites that we regularly do. So, we can try, but I can't promise that.
You're trying to get science to sync up with the governmental requirements of the granting of the PPP loan is what you're trying to do, right? So you got to do the best that you possibly can with that. Hopefully we get some good information out of it. It is a worthy project. It is good for the Bayman. It's good for the community. And I guess after that's expired, you're going to, go back to doing whatever it is that you can do to help us out with getting this information.
Well, this is intended to be supplemental, right, Steve? Because you're already diving on numerous sites, and then these 4 water bodies would be supplemental with the dredging, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. We're actually doing a project with Bassa Malam at Stony Brook, and we're going to be working in Flanders Bay to actually track progression of scallop disease. That's not part of the PPP, but that's one of the sites that we're going to be monitoring through the course of the summer and into the fall to try to get a better idea if disease comes back, when it develops, that kind of thing. And there's going to be, for that project, there's also going to be supplemental or supporting laboratory experiments to look at the effect of water temperatures, high water temperatures, salinity, et cetera, on the progression of the disease, that kind of thing.
This is such an important fishery, and it suffered such a loss in the 80s, and it was building so much momentum. And to have what happened last year has been a monumental loss for our community. And this is such important work that you're taking on. I feel that this is a really great accessory to it, to have the PPE.
Yeah, thank you. No,
Well, I think you want to learn that if the Peconic water is different than the creek water and the survival rate versus, the Southampton Town, Cold Springs, Sabonic area, I think it had a better survival rate percentage-wise than it was in the Peconics, where places, I know some of the Baymen said it was 100% mortality. And I think knowing that and trying to figure out why Cold Springs, Sabonic had a better survival rate is putting the science and a learning curve to it that would maybe figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we had heard, that there were some, creeks and harbors that the survival was better. Barley Dunn was saying that they had good survival in the southern end of 3 Mile Harbor. And again, these are places that we don't get to. So just the additional information would be very helpful and help provide insight into the of this die-off.
And the sites are going to be GPSed?
Yes, all the sites will be GPS, yeah.
And that information will be available to the trustees then too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think maybe we need to figure out some way to continue to be able to fund this sort of thing once the expiration of programs like the PPE are gone. I mean, if it's that important work,
Right.
perhaps we want to start thinking more proactive and forward on how, in absence of a program like that, we could still get the good information and have the good work done moving forward.
Yep.
Especially after they spawn. Once the scallops spawn, they get weak, and they could potentially have a parasite which killed the other scallops last year. So that would be the point that I would look for the next sampling to be done sometime right after within 2 or 3 weeks of their spawn, to check them and see how the survival rate is after that. That would be a good approach.
Yeah, that's the reason why we need a GPS. That'd be good. We can do a little pilot project on that and monitor it through the year.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yep. Okay, so what do you need from us? Just a signed agreement, or just
I
letter
guess
of permission?
I'm not sure what Wade is asking for in terms of approval. We've gotten approval from just emails from some of the other towns, which is, Islip and Brookhaven Town for Mauritius Bay, but I'm not sure what Wade is requiring.
Okay.
Well, probably a letter of permission from the board allowing them to do this project.
Right.
Simple.
Yeah.
Cut out all the BS and get it done quickly.
Right.
I think that should do
So
it.
if he can get us some sort of, description of the project, run it by the attorney real quick, and if the board's good, can authorize to send a letter of permission for Cornell, to do the work.
His email states, Wade's email states,
Yes.
do the trustees have any objection to New York State DEC issuing a permit authorizing this survey work on the town underwater lands identified?
Okay, so
So
If
it's
the
pretty
board's-
straightforward.
if the board's in concurrence, and then we'll just send a letter to the DEC saying that it's fine.
Do you want to just do a quick poll of the board? I think.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of it personally, so I would say yes.
I am, yes. Ann?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Bill?
I'm good for it.
Okay, done. All right,
Thank
very
you,
much.
Steve.
we'll get that sent out today.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Steve.
much.
Steve, can you reach back to Wade after this conversation and tell him what we had just discussed? Because I told him I was going to follow up after the meeting, so maybe you
Sure.
can do that instead.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
All right, thank you.
And, have him send an email to the office and see if the DEC is okay with the verbal
Okay,
or an email or whatever speeds it up.
Okay, very good.
If we can get an insurance certificate, that's always preferable as well, too.
Okay.
Steve, did you hear that?
The last about an insurance certificate?
I think we might have that with Cornell with the ability to do work in our waters anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You would certainly know better than I.
Sean, we probably have that because
Okay.
there have been multiple other projects through Cornell.
Yep.
But we could check. Sean is our attorney, Steve.
Okay. So
Sean can clean that up.
do you need me to do anything on that end, this insurance matter?
We can see if we have it, and if we need it, we'll contact you guys.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
So welcome. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Take care. All right.
Take care,
enjoy the rest
Steve.
of your day. Thanks.
Thanks a
Thanks.
lot. Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion about Honey Pot Pond. Ed's very familiar with this area.
Eric, did you want to, Lake Agawam is actually next. Did you want to skip
Oh,
that?
okay, we'll go to Lake Agawam. Go ahead. So the water lily removal permit, Charles McDuckin, is he on? Anybody representing Agawam Lake?
He's here, he's on. He's just muted, I think.
Mr. McGuckin?
I don't have any audio for him. I have video, but not audio.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we do have to skip him, Eric.
Okay, well, we'll wait a couple.
He's connecting to audio, it says.
Oh, okay, okay. So briefly, this was a application and a permit that was issued to the Lake Agawam Conservancy about harvesting of water lilies. And there was a provision in there that said that they had to be done by a certain time so as not to interfere, because they want to cut them and put the water lilies on our parking lot down at the end of Lake Agawam. And with all this COVID business happening, they want to be able to start and deposit the cut water lilies on an alternate site. The permit goes till, I believe, October of this year, but the condition said that you could only harvest them until June 1st or June 15th or something.
Mr. McGuckin?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. So basically what they're asking for is permission to start cutting the water lilies and take the provision out about the southern end, depositing them at the southern end and putting them on an alternate piece of property, and to be able to start harvesting the water lilies. That's basically it. So as we go along with through the meeting, I was planning on introducing a walk-on resolution to alter that permit to allow them to begin work immediately.
Asking
Do you
for
have the
permission.
resolution available, Eric?
Excuse me?
Do you have the resolution available?
No, this just came up the other day, and it was just to allow the Lake Agawam Conservancy to harvest the water lilies and put them on an alternate location, because there was a
Yes, Charles.
prohibition from doing it at this time, because the only place was the parking lot at Agawam Lake. So to remove the Agawam Lake, the parking lot provision.
We know what
And
the
also
alternate.
the date.
Excuse me, Ann?
Was it also the date? I'm just looking at the permit. Does the date need to be modified as well as the location?
No, the permit went to October. Is James there?
Yeah, the permit went to October. The date to put the water lilies in Lake Agawam was no later than April 30th, I believe. And that's because we get to the busy season and you don't want to take up a parking lot with water lilies. But now that they have an alternate site, they're looking to, extend that. They could take it out whenever, after April 30th, with the alternate site.
Mr. McGuckin, are you with us?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay.
Oh, you're really echoey. Would you like to speak to this?
Are you on with 2 devices?
Yes, I can't. I'm trying to, can you, I can only use my phone.
That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
You,
I think the only question is, what was the alternate site?
The alternate site is the David Bonet property, which is at 496 First Neck Lane. That is on the end of the cove. It's the only really defined cove along the western edge of the lake. Mr. Bonet's property is undergoing a major house renovation, and he's not using the property at this time. So he's allowed us to use it. He is one of the permittees also.
Okay.
He does have a vegetated buffer. Most of his property is fairly densely vegetated with brush. There are along the end, it's a minor vegetation, really just some frag and some bush there. So we are going to try to minimize the disturbance, but we will need to load the weeds along the shoreline, and then we'll pull them back. So there'll be a little bit of disturbance there, and it'll all be restored, but we shouldn't do major ripping up of anything, just placing the weeds on his shoreline.
Okay. What do we have to do in order to?
Well, we'd have to introduce a resolution to modify the permit.
Okay.
And what dates were you talking about doing the harvesting?
Yeah, we've reached out to Aqua Solutions. They originally did not have availability, but they are now completely available this month. And so we'll be ready really within days or a week to start to do the work. And so we were planning on doing it certainly this month and as soon as we could. We're holding off on installing the bottom diffuse aerator system until after the harvester can do its work. So, and the aerators are on site now, ready to be installed.
Okay. Okay. So is there, were you planning on doing this all in one time, like in a week or two period, or throughout the summer? So trying to figure out when to alter the permit for.
We're only, at this time, only looking to do the work over a few week period, probably somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks. This month, by permit, we are permitted to go back out in the fall to do work. We were just excluded from doing work in the summer because of I believe mainly because of the use of the town parking lot area.
Correct.
In the summer.
Right.
So we don't think we would do this more than once now, and then we are required actually to evaluate the results and then report back to the town and the village with a evaluation on whether or not we recommend further removal in the fall is a good idea. I believe we said 20%, if there's more than 25% regrowth, that we would likely want to do additional removal in the fall. So it depends on the result.
So now that you have this piece of property available that wasn't available before, then perhaps the thing to do is to take the AgWam restriction out and allow it to go the full length of the permit, which expires in October. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, let
Yes.
them do the removal at any time. That would be fine.
Okay. I can work out the
That would be
details of
great.
the resolution with Lisa, but basically it would say just remove that portion of it.
It will give you the window of the whole summer and fall to do it, so
Right.
that'd
right.
be good.
Anybody else have
Thank you.
any comments on it?
I'm
No,
good with it.
good.
Okay, so during the regular portion of the meeting, we can do that after we go through the regular agenda. Okay? Okay. Well, Mr. McGuckin, thanks for coming on and explaining.
Thank you for your time. Is this something that could, is it possible this could happen this week? Is that possible?
We're gonna pass the resolution today.
Oh, today. Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank
if
you.
everybody's good with that.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about the difficulties.
No problem. We have our own too here. Okay, so Honey Pot Pond, Ed's up on this. I had a discussion with one of the residents down there, and they said that the permit is due to expire for the dredging of Honey Pot Pond. And I'm not familiar with where we are with this right now, because that's Ed's area, and he's been handling most of that. So it was between Marty the last time.
Yes. Marty was handling getting the permit to dredge it again if it needed it. Just I'd like to make, you were in on this week, Eric, when we did the oysters and clams, put them in there twice actually, and they survived very well, grew very well. So the environmental dredging that was done was a very good, worthy project, and it was successful as far as I can see from the shellfish standpoint, and also the grasses in there are flourishing around the perimeter of the pond. So I think it was a good project.
Mm-hmm.
Expanding it, I don't know how much you want to expand it, being that we put shellfish in there and seeded most of the area that was dredged. Because
I didn't have any incentive to expand it. I was just wanted to get some information, as a discussion about what we think we should do as far as just think about it, about reapplying, if we're going to reapply, or is Marty going to do it for basically the same type of dredging as you were talking about, if it needs it, just to have it if we do want to pull the trigger on at some point.
Yeah, they were looking for the CPF 20 water quality to get funding for the application for the permit. That was where they were hiring a consultant. I believe we used Matt Ivins when we did the application ourselves. Mm-hmm. Matt and Mariah and myself and you went down here and did most of the sampling for the core stuff and everything in-house. So it really didn't cost us that much. I don't know if Marty wants to do it that way again, or is it something that they want to hire an outside consultant and pay him, the going rate to do the application. It's probably going to be about $10,000 that way. Mm-hmm. That was my understanding last time. Am I correct, Eric?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So I think it's a conversation we should have with Marty to see how he wants to handle this and pay for it. Because,
good.
For us to pay $10,000, that's a lot of money for a little project that I think is very successful. But do we need to do it again? I don't know. That's something we all have to take a look at the site at low tide and evaluate it.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
And bringing up the fact that you brought up Mariah, I'd just like to offer our condolences to a very truly dedicated member of our staff that we learned, a former staff member who did an outstanding job for us. We learned that she passed away this morning.
Yes.
So I just want to offer the condolences to her family.
Same for me. It was a young person like that. It's a total shame. It really is. She was a wonderful worker, and she did, she grew every day in the office and really did a lot for the trustees. So
yes,
I missed her when she left, and I'm very sorry that her passing on.
That was an absolute shock when I heard that this morning, because she really was a very dedicated person to the environment, especially the endangered species program. I mean, she really is going to be greatly missed.
It was
And she really
especially,
enjoyed
go ahead, Bill.
and she really enjoyed what she was doing when she
Yes.
was.
It was a tremendous help when we had the office in transition too. When Julie, our longtime secretary, left, she stepped up and really helped out when we were shorthanded. So big loss.
It's a shame. It's a tremendous loss.
Too young to die.
Yep. All right. So next is extension of trap season. Jamie Kraus. I guess Mr. Pell's dog agrees, or
Or not.
or not. So, Ann, did you want to bring this up?
Jamie, do you want to unmute and explain? Or Charles, do you have to unmute, Jamie? Thanks, William.
Okay, I think we're good. My technical assistant is here with me. Are we on?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, it's nice to see you all again. It's been a while. I'm Jamie Kraus. I have my son Willie with me. As most of you know, I've been a commercial fisherman for somewhere around 40 years. My son's been on for about 40 days, and he likes it. I guess that's because he hasn't been doing it long enough. Just a little bit. Okay. All right. So I've applied for these extensions before. At some point, they were discussing the possibility of just leaving it open, as they do in the state waters. We decided to table it and just do it on an annual basis. I've always been successful in having the extensions granted. For trap fishery is a local tradition, and I believe it has an economic benefit, obviously, for myself, my family, but in addition to that, the local economy in the way of fish markets, restaurants, bait shops, and many sport fishermen as well, as I supply them with bait and live bait. Over the course of time, the fishing for trap fishing has changed greatly from the past. Previously, there was money to be made in April from flounders and eels and bunker as well. This year, because of the pandemic, there was basically no market for bunker. And unfortunately, due to, I imagine, my guess is the environment, the flounders and eels are pretty much a product of the past. However, later in the season, into late June and July, the fluke fishing has become a pretty beneficial way to add to the income of the trap fishing. Also, sport fishermen come around for live bait into July. As Eddie said before, this year is especially cold, so things are happening much later. I would venture a guess that through the early part of July, we'll catch more and make more than we did in the early part of May, which is when things really would start to roll. Okay, so that's my, I think I covered most of my arguments to have the trap fishing season extended there. I will make an example. Last year on June 30th, I had 70 pounds of fluke. And on July 1st, I had 0 because we were forced to close. Okay, now I understand the argument about the navigational issue, which I believe is a non-issue for a number of reasons. First of all, it is clearly marked as a fish trap area. Nowhere is there a time frame listed on the chart, obviously. I have the chart right here. I would argue that it is no more of, and more likely less of, a nautical hazard than, for example, sandbar, fishing pots, gill nets, piers, moored vessels, bridges, etc. Another argument in favor of leaving trap fishing open in Southampton town waters is that state waters have no such regulation. They're allowed to stay open as long as they're earning money and as long as it's practical for the fishermen to harvest those waters. Okay, to summarize it all and conclude, in my opinion, no doubt that the trap fishery has a personal economic benefit that also reaches out to benefit many others, especially within the local community. I believe that to leave the traps open is the right thing to do. I would also conclude that trap fishing is not a navigational hazard for any able or competent sailor. Let's see, I did have something additional on that, but I don't seem to be able to find it in my notes. I would be happy to round up letters of support from some of these bait shops, restaurants, personal sport fishermen that I know, fish markets, etc. I'm hoping, I said I would be happy to do that, but actually I would prefer not to. But I would be willing to, more than willing to do it if it would help the cause. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. So you wanted to extend it, your proposal is to extend it through the whole year, not a certain date.
Well, Eric, I'm not going to insist. I mean, I obviously don't have any ability to insist on anything. I would personally say that that would be something I would be in favor of. However, in the past, I've been granted certain time limits, and we've always worked together to
Right.
make something practical in that regard, which I'd be more than happy to accept.
And what was the date you had in mind?
I would say, practically speaking, you could leave it open for July, and then if it gets hot and the fishing stops, it's only one trap I have now. And I didn't bring up the fact that my son is involved, and that's one of the main reasons that I'm asking for an extension this year as opposed to not asking for it in the past. It's a wonderful opportunity for him and myself to work together. It's a great job for him to help him for his college tuition, and it's a good experience for a person of his age. And what else did I want to add to that? Yeah, and it's one trap, and it's also not really anywhere near any of the channels. It's trap number 125 over by Carter Creek, and I can get that thing out in a day.
And it does have the proper navigational lights on it too, Jamie. You should mention that.
Yes, thank you, Ed.
Okay.
And that's true.
So Ed, what do you have to say about that?
I no longer fish pound traps because my son has a dragger. But I mean, I know historically we always went back and forth with a date. It was usually like a 2-week extension or a 3-week extension. And, but that was when there were probably a dozen or 15 pound nets in the bay. And some of them were in much closer to navigable channels. The 2 that are in Shinnecock, or actually the 3 that are in eastern and western Shinnecock, are nowhere near a navigable channel. They're close to shore. They're in the fishing area. I would be okay with it. I mean, I can actually speak to it now that I no longer do the, pound trap fishing. And I always advocated to have it extended, but my father was a trustee, so it was always difficult for me and my father to speak to it. I think it's a passive way of fishing, and there will become a point in the summer when the water gets too hot and the traps will just come out because the fish stop running. So probably the month of July would be adequate for at least to test it for a season, and a part would be the best way to do it. So I would say the month of July I'd be okay with that.
Well, we could test it out, the pilot project, but in order to leave them in all year long, you'd have to do a Blue Book amendment, wouldn't you?
Right, that's correct.
So you have to public hearings and all the rest.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Right.
So I mean, an extension for a month to see if it's actually a viable fishery that long, I think that would at least give Jamie and the other trap fishermen a reason to come to us and ask for a public hearing if they so see.
Now, is this opening up just for him or for everyone?
Well, there are two other guys, Alex and Mike DePerdy, and actually 3 other guys, and Kenny and Kenneth Maids. They would probably all ask for the same type of time period.
So do you want to do it unilaterally or just this one?
I would like to do the whole season for each one, for the trap season, whoever has gear in the water now. So we'll give them for 1 month, yes.
Okay. How's everybody else feel about that?
That's great.
I think
My
that's
question, my question is to Jamie. In June, historically, and Ed, you guys caught eels and flounder, and that fishery no longer exists, or the time frame has changed on it?
Well, the way that worked, Dan, is I believe what it was is that earlier in the spring is when those fish would be there. Once it gets warm, they all leave. You won't see eels once the fluke come in. You'll go from seeing 3 or 4 eels, a handful. And then when it gets warm and the fluke basically take over for the whatever's before the fluke, flounders also, for example. You'll get mostly flounders in April. And then once the water warms up, then you get a few flounders mixed in with the fluke. And then once it gets even warmer, then you only get the fluke.
Okay.
It's a transition. The spring, the winter spring is basically fluke, flounder, and eels. Once usually around the middle of June comes, you won't see a flounder, you won't see an eel, and you won't see a perch because they're cold water fish, and the flounders are in the ocean. The eels basically hibernate away from the trap areas, and the fluke historically have actually the numbers have increased because of management, and selling them live is a good viable way to get money for them. So it's a fishery that's evolved as time has progressed. Like Jamie said, 40 years ago, fluke fishing in the bay, you'd be non-existent because there was so many boats dragging in the ocean catching them. Now with limitations, they come in the bay, and it's a viable fishery that you can make money on.
Cool. Thank you.
Exactly.
Okay. So after we're done with the general permits, we'll have to do another walk-on resolution to extend the trap permit, trap season now 30 days.
We have one more meeting though, Eric. If you wanted, we could do it on the 15th if you need a little wiggle room there.
All right, we can do that. We'll have a resolution prepared up just as well.
You can reach out to Jamie and get a little bit more information about the trap fishing and put it in the resolution. So it's a better written resolution.
Sounds
all right,
good.
Jamie?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever you guys need, just let me know and I'll put it together.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you,
Have
Jamie.
fun. Have fun, Willie.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so next item is the Road H commercial dock with the broken pilings that Ed was discussing. Do you have any more input on that one?
I did ask Port Lumber to send us over a cost of the pilings. Lisa, do you have that available?
Yes, I do. I have
got
it in front of me, Ed. I believe you and I discussed the 12-inch butt by 25-foot long green heart piles.
Yes.
10 of those at $550 each would be $5,500.
Okay.
But that doesn't include the other elements of the project.
Yeah, I had talked to a contractor, and he had given me just a base price of about $15,000 to tear apart what needs to be, deconstructed and reconstruct. So it's about $15,000 plus the piling. So you're looking at somewhere around $20,000 for the project. At probably that, I believe we would have to put it out to bid.
Yes.
For other contractors, but that's just the base cost of what it should cost us to get that facility fixed up. So it's a good working facility.
Hey, Ed, you're talking about the finger pier between, right next to Oakland's, that part of the dock?
Yeah, the our basin over there, the one
Yeah,
where the pilings are split. Yes.
Yeah, the west side of the basin.
No, the east side of the basin is where the pilings are all split and broken off.
And what are you doing to the west side of the basin?
I'm not going to do anything over there because the pilings are not broken apart on that side.
You're talking about the east side by the
County Park, yes. And there's three pilings on the south end of it that are cracked off and split, and because the banding popped off of them. So basically, we would like to put the new pilings in, which are much heavier. When we did the project, the consultant just basically had like 6 and 8 inch pilings put in there, and they were not adequate for commercial fishing boats. So I'm looking to put some larger wood in there that would hold better during a storm.
And what is the income from that dock?
I don't have it off of the top of my head right now. It's $65 a foot. I believe Billy's boat is 55 feet, and I think Jeff's is 45 feet. So if you want to do the math, I don't have it in front of me.
Well, 100 times 65, $6,500 a year, basically.
Yeah, $6,500 a year, and we've been collecting that for at least 10 years, maybe longer.
Well, how many pilings were we talking about again?
10.
Quote was for 10, yes.
Oh, okay. You know, I was thinking, we pull those out, we can use them down. I was going to discuss at the next meeting about the plans to redo that dock down in Eastport, over the old fixed pier. If we pulled those piles up, but we wouldn't need 20 footers down there, we could possibly recycle those down and put them down in Eastport to reduce the cost down there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have the contract to put them in a pile down there. We can cut the ends of them off that are split and broken and repurpose them. Yeah. So, right. But I mean, it's something that needs to be done because the dock is going to be, you get another Sandy over there and it's going to be completely destroyed. So I'd like to move forward and put it out for a request for proposal and see how much it actually is with several contractors and then come back to you. Is that okay?
I'm good.
Yes, I'd like to see the plan to make sure that there's no mistakes, no overcost on it, and you know exactly what we're doing.
Well, that's why I want to put it out for a request for proposal, Billy. That way we can, everybody will bid on it. Yep.
But we have to have a plan before it goes out to a bid.
We should get it.
I'm working on that, Bill. That's why I want to get a cost estimate for the basic work. And then I'll sit down with maybe a consultant or somebody and go over what exactly needs to be done down there. All right.
Want to make sure.
I'll put it as a nice package so everybody can read it.
Well, you got to have the specs. You need consistent specs so we can get consistent pricing and information back.
Well, that's what I'm going to do, Scott. I'm going to put it together as a package. That way everybody bids on the same thing.
Good.
Yeah.
I agree with Scott.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. And the next item is the public hearing. I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing, consider amending Article 5, at 42, use of trustee docks and basins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Favor?
Sorry, what was the second? Thanks. Thank you.
So Bill's shepherding this through, right? You want to discuss why we're doing this?
Basically to down on North Sea Road we could put 3 more. We have 1 slip there now. We can add 2 more slips so we get some income from that dock, and plus provide more access to for slips for people.
Okay. So it's to exempt the trustee-owned Woolly Pond dock from requirements of Article 5 and designate it as a trustee residential docking facility, to change the time frame required for dock permit display, and to remove Old Fort Pond as a boat slip location that requires seasonal tie-off poles. So there's several other items in this.
Thing. I was trying to the whole thing.
Okay. So the question I had was remove Old Fort Pond as a boat slip location. We're not going to rent out any boats slips there anymore?
No, that's where we put a brand new facility in there to rent boats.
That's written wrong there.
That's what we put a brand new facility in there to rent boats.
It should be
Okay.
No, I think it was an anomaly. And Sean, wasn't there an issue? Something was.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but it was to remove it as a seasonal location. I believe there were temporary facilities there, and you're trying to make them permanent. So you were taking it out of one section of the code and putting it in somewhere else.
Are you trying to make it year round? I'm kind of lost
Yeah,
here.
yeah, me too.
Me too.
That was
Because
the
we-
note that I had received from Lisa to amend the
always-
certain sections of the blue book.
We always did a seasonal facility at all of our places, so that way people wouldn't tie derelict boats up there during the winter and leave them.
Okay, so why don't we adjourn this? Is there any members of the public that wanted to speak on this?
I've had no communication from
Okay.
anyone.
Why don't we adjourn this till the next meeting so we can sit down with Sean and work out some of the details.
I'll second that motion to adjourn it.
Okay.
Yes.
All in
Okay,
favor?
so that's June
Aye.
15th?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, we can sit down whenever you're free.
Thanks, Sean.
Public portion. Anybody online to speak at public portion? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Public is all, well,
Charles.
Gina Rigdon is, I see is on, but that's probably for a permit. Okay, so that's for the first one. Application for the trustee resolution 2020-106, general permit. This is for renewal, the first renewal for Hampton Court Marina condominium, 580 Dune Road, West Hampton. I have a motion to pass that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, trustee resolution 2020-107. This is the application of Robert Crow and Erica Atenito on 18 Pleasant Avenue. That was the removal of the bulkhead and putting up a small dock in Beaver Dam Creek. I make a motion to be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one is 2020-108. First Coastal Corporation is the applicant. And this is for the application of Stephen Wax on 38 Basket Neck Lane, Remsenburg. It's on Seatuck Cove. And this was for that reinstall a new bulkhead and install a boat lift that we discussed at the last meeting. So make a motion to be approved.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hands next.
Trustee Resolution 2020-109. This is a first modification of permit number GP 000103 for Fabienne Terwinji, 57 Harbor Drive, Sag Harbor. This is to allow construction of an access stairway. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-110. This is application of Dr. George Bertero Jr. and Christine Bertero, 46 Bayview Drive East, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-9-3-79, body of water, Sag Harbor Cove. This is to replace a bulkhead. We discussed it at the last work session. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Ed.
You got it? You want me to read? I can read it for you. You want me to read it?
I sent it over to my other phone, but it didn't come up, so I don't have it.
Eddie, you got 2020-111. It's the application of Charles Seaman, 27B Gardner's
Yep.
Lane in Hampton Bays. It's a traditional project that it's always done. Ed was looking for approval.
Yeah, I need a second on it. It's just dredging and cleaning off the launching ramp.
Right. Right.
Second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, who was the second?
Me.
Billy.
Bill? Okay.
Yeah.
Then Eddie's got 2020-112, Dynamic Legal, Lawrence K. Benson, 47 Lynn Avenue, body of water, Shinnecock Bay, tax map 0900-692-17.3. Reconstruct seasonal dock from flush from existing bulkhead, 4x75 dock, flow through decking, ladder at the end, all non-treated poster material. Ed was looking for an approval on that one.
I need a second on that.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It also has trustee resolution 2021-13, the application of the Kunz Family Limited Partnership, 4 Mill Pond, Hampton Bays, tax map 0900321-1-13. Another project that we worked on with Ed at work session, met all Blue Book regulations. He was looking for advancement on that.
Need a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Scott.
All right, I can do mine. I've got 2020-114. It's application of Peter Castro, 8 Marlin Road, East Quogue. It's a Shinnecock Shores application, meets all Blue Book regulations, went over to work session, recommended its approval.
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got 2020-115, application of Audrey Weinberg, 27 Bay Road. It's over in the village of Quogue, tax map 0900-61-1-16.4. Another application that fully met Blue Book regulations, looking for a second to advance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Got trustee resolution 2020-116. It's a DKR Shores. It's an application for Carl Hiltvet, 23 Leeward Lane, Suffolk County tax map number 0902-11-3-30, located on the canal. Another good project, meets all our regulations, looking for a second to advance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-117. This is warrant number 10 of 2020 in the amount of $1,616.54. Lisa, would you mind reading that?
Home Depot Credit Services, $328. Printing House Press Limited, $1,246.90. The Town of Southampton, $41.64, for a total of $1,616.54.
Thanks, Lisa. I'd like to recommend the approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now the next one, trustees resolution 2020-118 is to authorize the trustees president to sign a cooperative agreement with the town of Southampton allocating the Southampton Town Water Quality Improvement Project Funding Award for Sag Pond Inlet Management and Aquatic Habitat Restoration. Ann was Suzanne's area. Did you want to add anything to that? I didn't want to read this whole whereas resolution. It's like 2.5 pages long.
Maybe you guys can help fill in the details on it. Basically, this is funding for 2 years. The funding award is for 2 years. The amount is in the total of $182,000. $56,000 per year goes towards Dr. Gobler's research, which includes the monitoring and the results of the monitoring. And in addition, there's $30,000 that will be that will go towards the aquatic habitat restoration plan as a result of the research. And then there's $40,000 total for 2 years of opening, closing, and removal of sand at the Sag Pond Inlet at the cut.
That's good.
Is there anything?
Okay.
Is there anything more that we should add?
Well, I would just add that you just have to make sure that with the $40,000 for 2 years opening and closing, that it's set up appropriately with the comptroller's office so that when the invoices come to the trustees for those activities, that they're paid for out of the appropriate fund. From a housekeeping perspective.
If I can add to that, that's why this resolution is so long. It includes all the town board actions. They've agreed to pay bills directly. That's why we've included it like that. And the contract is also very lengthy, involving the town board's agreement. So there will be 2 contracts, one with the trustees and Dr. Gobler, and one with the town of Southampton, showing that they're paying these bills for you guys.
Right. Yeah, just want to make sure that, because these are bills that were paid for by out of the trustees' funds in the past, but thank goodness on the community preservation fund and water quality projects. We just got to make sure that it goes in the right direction. That's all.
Jim Burke and I have both reviewed both ends of it extensively.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Sean.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and the way the process is working right now on when we open Mecox Cut, that Janice Shearer, who is Director of Planning, is the one who oversees that she needs confirmation from us to pay the bills, right? From the CPF?
Yeah, well, they're billed directly, right, Sean?
Yes, you show that the work was done and
We
they
just-
paid the invoice.
Right, we confirm that the work was done to our satisfaction.
Correct.
Yes. And
So we just gotta
this,
make sure,
go ahead, Scott.
no, we're just gonna make sure that we switch gears in the same, in the same protocol, with, all parties involved and obviously the town comptroller, so that the funds are apportioned out of the right area. And it seems
Sean?
to me that due diligence has been done.
Sean, did
You just need to establish that you have privity of contract with the town and then separate privity of contract with the organization it's going to, because the town is kind of putting you in the position of a middleman, meaning, you have a contract with a debt. They have a contract to you with a debt, but they're not directly contracting with that third party. So we just need to make sure on both ends they're airtight to show the town is paying that and using
Right. And
the trustees as a pass-through.
And I get that, and I feel that. That's why I'm raising the concern right now, just to make sure that it's handled the right way in the interest of the trust. That's all. And it seems to me like you got it under control, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Sean worked extensively on this, as have many other people, but especially this last part. So thank you, Sean, for that. And this is super important. Sag Pond, right up there with Mill Pond and Lake Agawam, is one of the most heavily impacted water bodies in the town of Southampton when it comes to blue-green algae. So this research and water quality monitoring and the restoration plan that will come as a result of it and in addition, the inlet opening financing there will be great work that will come as a result of this research.
Great. Okay, so there's no further discussion. Trustee Resolution 2020-118 is to authorize me to sign a cooperative agreement with the town of Southampton.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, so now we have another lengthy one that's 4 pages long. Trustee Resolution 2020-119 is to authorize the trustees president to sign an agreement with the New York Center for Clean Water Technology, allocating the Southampton Town Water Quality Improvement Project funding award, Sagaponack Pond Inlet Management and Aquatic Habitat Restoration.
So this is the water quality monitoring portion of this. Sean, you can back me up on this to further explain this, but as Sean mentioned, they're 2 separate agreements. So the first one is the one for the town, and this one is the one with Dr. Gobler for the research.
So yes, this is that second contract I had mentioned.
Right.
So we need both of them in effect to make sure that these bills are being paid the right way.
Right.
Great.
And I looked it over. It's 4 pages long, Scott, and it's very well written.
Well, I'll give you my second. It sounds to me like the due diligence, and I'm looking at paperwork here, and I see exactly what you got going on. So,
Okay.
got my second.
So 2020-119's got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Ed, this is you.
Ed's the next
And
one.
you've got the 2020 notice to commercial and recreational shellfish harvesters regarding the North Sea Harbor Management Zone.
Yes. Every year we set dates for the commercial harvest and limits. This year is going to be the dates that we have chosen. I went over it with Lisa and Jessica. I sent it out to everybody to look at. Hopefully you all had a chance. So I'd like to adopt it for 2020-21 for the commercial.
You have
harvest
listed here
in
for
North
the
Sea
record,
Harbor.
June 30th, 2020 to July 7th, 2020. And you got September 1st, 2020 to September 8th, 2020, and then December 22nd, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Those are the dates that you have indicated on this.
And every Tuesday from Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Right, right.
Yep.
That the area will be open every Tuesday beginning June 2nd, 2020 through September 8th, 2020.
Yep.
Harvest limits as follows: 2 bushels of little neck clams a day. To measure
Yep.
at least 1 inch in thickness.
Yep. So I like to have it approved. So yes. Need a second.
I will second that.
All in favor?
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work on that, Eddie.
Okay. So, let's see. I would like to introduce a walk-on motion to amend the permit for the removal of the lily pads at the end of Agawam Lake.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You'll
Okay.
provide me with the text of the walk-on, Eric?
I'll provide you with the text today, when we get done the meeting, but this is to extend the limit of, extend the time that the lily pads can be harvested till the end of the permit, and no lily pads to be put at the end in our parking lot at Agawam Lake.
Okay, so you have a motion and a walk it on, and now you need a motion to adopt.
I'm putting forth the motion to amend that permit.
I'll second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So there's an
uh,
existing permit? There's an existing permit, Eric?
Yes,
Okay.
we're modifying the existing permit that
I see,
expires in
okay.
October.
Okay, so you have a walk-on, now you need to adopt.
We did.
We
just
did
did.
that. We
You
just
did
did.
it,
the
you
walk.
did 2 motions?
We did
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
made the motion
I
Okay, thank
seconded
you.
it.
and Scott seconded. Okay. All right, so now we go into work session applications to be reviewed. James, if you're ready, the first one is Irina Gadd of 21 Pine Tree Lane, West Hampton. That's DKR Shores, Gina Rigdon.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Gina.
how are you?
Hello,
Good.
Gina.
I just need Charles to allow me to share screen.
James.
Is Charles on there?
I think
Did
he
it
just
text him?
heard that. No, he just heard. Right,
Oh.
right, Charles?
Yeah, it's
I
working.
think
It's working.
Thank you, Charles.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So this is the old Atlantic Farms subdivision down there in Spionk, site of the old Atlantic Farms duck farm. A lot of the bulkheads have been reconstructed. This is another one that needs to be done, and they want to reconstruct in kind in place, at the same height, the 222 feet of vinyl bulkheading to reinstall the 4 by 222 foot boardwalk along, and provide a 10-foot Cape American beach grass non-turf buffer. No raise in the bulkhead.
Yeah, same height.
Similar to the other bulkheads. You have a picture, an aerial on that again? Or any of the,
Here's the area.
now you'll notice that this is the only area that does have sand in front of it right now, which is great.
Substantial buffer right now.
Mhm. So, there we go.
It's an
So-
old CCA. Old
Right.
CCA. Bulkhead's gotta
One of the
go.
last CCA bulkheads down there, very
Right.
high area of decay in this particular area because of the freshwater artesian action, a lot of those marine isopods eating through this old CCA. So I think it's a good project. I'd like to recommend that it be moved forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks, Regina.
Thank you. Bye.
Right. The next one is, we'll let him catch up.
Yeah. Is it West Hampton?
West Hampton Beach.
Yes, beach.
Is Dan Hall on the line?
It's Chuck Bowman, Eric.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey,
Yes.
how are you, Scott?
Good, buddy.
How you doing, Chuck?
Yeah, Chuck, the thing that concerns me on this one is the excessive length of this walkway, and I haven't been able to get in touch with with West Hampton Beach. Do you have a permit from West Hampton Beach? Because our jurisdiction is only from the high water mark out. So did you get a permit from the building department or the conservation board down there?
Well, like I say, we're into the both DEC and Department of State. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lisa was. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry, excuse me.
hello?
Yeah.
No, like I said, we've gotten a question as far as the access. It's a private road, Fanning Drive.
Right. Right.
You know, so, you know, Mr. Abwap owns actually the two houses down adjoining this, and his deeds all indicate he has the right to cross over and access Moneybog Bay. So the village building inspector did question that, which we provided him with an attorney's letter and title information on it.
But who granted him that right?
Well, it was done with the subdivision, and Eric, well, I actually know a lot about this because when DEC bought Moneybog
Right.
Reserve,
Right.
we went through this whole thing,
Right.
and leaving their access there because DEC didn't want to pay for it at that time, and that's when I actually did the appraisals and everything else for it. So, you know, the people on Fanning Drive do have access to Moneybog Bay by virtue of their, you know, private and deeded access there.
But that was granted to them through the subdivision process of West Hampton Beach?
Oh, which was a very long time ago. Very, very long time ago.
But it's in the language of the subdivision?
Oh, for sure. And in all their deeds, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was to make sure that he had correct title to it. You know, most of the way down Fanning Drive, the paper street is upland until we hit the high marsh that's there. And at that point, you know, we did open grate, of course, very low open grate decking out to where your jurisdiction would basically start at the high water mark.
Okay, James, can you bring up the survey? You know, the overhead that shows the extent of the
plans?
Walkway?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you bring it up a little bit? Yeah, scroll it up.
I good.
It starts at the end of the, if not even paved, the dirt road. There's a 110-foot wood chip path down Fanning Drive.
Right.
To a 4-foot by 160-foot open grate decking, you know, over the high marsh area, which then leads to the high water mark and the dock. You know, there's sufficient water in this location that meets its standards.
No, not at all.
Right. Right. The thing I'm concerned about is that the major portion of this whole permit involves West Hampton Beach, and granting a permit for a dock without, you know, coordination from them might be troublesome.
Well, I have no
dock.
problem with you withholding a decision until we give you the DEC approval, because the village is going to look for the DEC approval, which again, I don't think there's going to be any problem with it at all. I mean, DEC on their own properties have open grate catwalks going
At
across
what
the
height,
highway.
though? At what height?
Well, this is 2 feet above the vegetation.
But Ed's been involved in this over the course of the last 2 years. When I was absent, we were really going with low height walkways, and now the DEC has been requiring higher, and Army Corps is requiring higher.
Army Corps is the one that set the precedent. We did send several letters to them. The DEC was in agreement with us, Eric, on lowering them. But the Fish and Wildlife and the Marine Habitat, the federal government, have really been pushing for these higher docks. I don't know why, because it really creates a visual problem in many instances. And it takes and puts the dock right at the wave energy during a storm event, which, doesn't make much sense. But we did try fighting, we did send letters, and we got nowhere, Eric, unfortunately.
Yeah, and if I can interject, I agree with Ed completely. And this is a low, only 2 feet above the high marsh. It only bumps up to the 4 feet when we get to the high water mark and that intertidal marsh on out. So, and that's where the Army Corps has said that that's what we have to do.
Right. I thought we sent more than letters. I thought we had James do some research on.
Oh, we did.
We had, and we provided a lot of local information and local history and statistics on successful projects that we had versus studies that were done outside of our locality. So they still.
And we showed them the grass grew underneath the docks, actually grew through the docks, and it was not any loss of habitat. But they didn't listen to it, Scott. It was very frustrating.
Oh, I've been fighting this battle for years all over Long Island, Ed, I mean, it doesn't make any sense,
No.
But in any case, we've only bumped it up. They've required us to, from high water mark through the intertidal marsh on out. So everything else is low profile.
James, can you put the elevations up again? Actual side elevations. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now you're showing again, what, 4 feet above the high water mark?
Correct.
Okay. Now my conversations with the building department, they're saying that anything that's 4 foot above grade has to have balusters every 4 inches. You aware of that?
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I don't even think that that's within their jurisdiction, that part of the dock, from my experience in West Hampton. But, Eric, I can certainly work that out. They have a new building inspector there. And, I think that's in conflict with what DEC wants to see.
It is.
I understand that. I understand that, but with these docks that are higher than what we've normally allowed, and now getting into the range where the state building code says that you have to have balusters every 4 inches, is that what happens if we approve these plans and someone falls through that and our stamp is on it as approved?
Again, I'll go back. I'm not asking you to approve it right now. I want to get the DEC approval, give that to the building inspector, because he's also raised the title problem, which we have the owner's attorneys working on, and they can't be in conflict either,
Right.
And this is out in the water. There's no dock in West Hampton that has balusters every 4 inches.
Right.
No, I know that. I know.
Right. And we could give Sean some time. Sorry.
What'd you say, Scott?
I would say we could give Sean some time to do a little due diligence as well, just to make sure there's no conflict with the state building code, with what's over water. And I think this is something that Sean could look into for us and answer that question. He doesn't have a problem putting it on hold.
Oh, no, I intended to put it on hold today. I didn't want to, I don't want to, go ahead, Ed.
Over the water, we were always looking for less structure instead of more. By raising it up to this height, they're going to make more structure instead of less. You know,
I know, I'm not
it's
looking to put more
contradictory to what
ballasters on.
Yeah, it's either that, you put stainless steel cable in so you can't put a 4-inch spear through it or something. It's unforeseen consequences.
I know, I'm not trying to add more lumber out over the wood. I'm just making everybody aware that if we put our stamp on it and it's not to state building codes, that we could be liable. So I want to make sure that that's appropriate. We're doing the appropriate thing. We don't want to expose the freeholders to any.
You know, the village.
That's why Sean should be looking at this.
The village has never requested that before, and, you know, for any of the docks in the village, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, just because they didn't request it doesn't mean that it follows the codes. And we're very, conscious about moorings these days, about insurance on those, so we don't expose the town to any liability. That maybe there's some sort of, maybe the DEC will realize that if this is the code, maybe they'll drop the docks down to more of a level where we had put in our regulations.
The DEC Eric, the DEC were in agreement with us with our heights. They were following our lead. It was the Army Corps and the Fish and Wildlife that prompted them to raise the heights up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
Well, we'll
DEC
get
have
some
all that paperwork if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
DEC has no problem with the lower dock, catwalk. No problem at all. In fact, we're the one, DEC in the Village of Quad, we're the first ones to do it lower, you know, over a high marsh with open grading on Randy Carter.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
you know,
I had Jim Walker furnish us the literature that the Army Corps was going by. They were talking about Tampa Bay, Puerto Rico, never even mentioned Long Island or the Northeast about any of these, grasses or anything. So I did read the whole entire, literature that he gave us, and it had nothing to do with us, which really frustrated us.
Right.
Let's
okay.
table it, I
So we're
guess.
going to put this on hold for further discussion. I'll try to talk to the Village of West Hampton and see where they are on things. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Ann's next.
Matt, are you here?
I'm here.
Hi, Matt. This is William Hale, Lamb Family Trust, 67 Pine Neck Avenue in Noyak. Matt, do you want to explain the project?
Sure. Real quick, it's one of the few properties on this shoreline that does not benefit from a dock. It's a standard 4-foot wide fixed catwalk that measures 72 feet long. All open grade decking, hinged ramp, which is 3 by 15, with a floating dock 6 by 20. Floating docks in a minimum 2.5 foot of water. It meets the pier extension, everything non-treated. It's a standard dock. Nothing too exciting here. It comes right off the bulkhead, so it's in line with the height of the uplands. That's about it.
What did you end up doing as far as, is it to be a dock that stays in? Is it to be removed seasonally, or how do
he just wants the freedom to, if he can leave the floating dock and hinged ramp in during the winter, he would like to just use a bubbler system. He just doesn't want it written in the permit that he's required to remove the floating dock and hinged ramp during the winter. I mean, he may do that anyway, and he knows that he can't store it in the wetlands. But he just wants that freedom.
How much does it ice up in there?
A lot.
What's that?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, like last winter, I'm sure it was pretty mild. So, but yeah, I mean, could ice.
It's adequate water to put a bubbler system in. It's not going to go dry at low tide, so it would function. Many of the other docks have bubbler systems in there.
Yeah.
Sounds okay.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. I'd like to move this forward, Lisa.
Okay. Thanks. Have
Matt.
a good one. Take care,
Thank you,
guys.
Matt.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Ed, this is you. It's Lorenzo Cavallaro, 2 Mill Pond Road in Hampton Bays.
Okay, yes. This is a man-made dredge canal off of Smith's Creek. He's looking to place the easy docks in there.
Got 16-foot metal plank aligned with height of the bulkhead.
Yeah, they're gonna hook it right to the bulkhead. 2 5x10, easy docks that are gonna use for floats. There's more than adequate water there. There's no submerged aquatic vegetation. 4 tie-up pilings. I went down there and met with the gentleman and his consultant, and everybody was under the agreement this is a good project. So I like to move it forward if everybody's good with it.
It meets Blue Book, Ed. It looks fine.
Yep. Is not going to be over the extended property line, and it is at the head of the canal, so it's not going to interfere with any navigation or anything. So it's a good project.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
I have 2. Which one do you want to do first?
We'll do 23, Dune.
Okay, so 23 Dune, we have Baycrest Properties. Is somebody here from land use to speak to it?
It's me, Scott. I'm here.
All right, thank you. Reconstruction, replacement, 12 linear feet of a bulkhead wing wall in line with what had previously existed, utilizing vinyl sheathing. Existing pile at the east end of the proposed bulkhead wing wall area is supposed to be replaced with new 12-inch pile. You're also proposing a PWC float, I guess separate application for that, or?
We're going to have to do a separate application, we were told, for that, Scott.
Correct, that's a separate
one of the
application,
main purposes here is the marsh, the high marsh behind it is eroding. And there used to be actually probably 25-foot wing wall that went out. There's remains of a pile that's there. So he's just adding that 12-foot section because it's eroding with the boat traffic back into that southwest corner there of the marsh area.
Right. James and I went down there, right, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, it all, you do have quite a bit of work that you have to do there to keep that structurally integral. So I don't have a problem with it. You need to do that second application, obviously, from the PWC.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yes, and we have the DEC, Army Corps, Department of State. Everything else has been issued.
Okay.
You see that, James, the property there, the larger, scroll out.
More?
Yeah, more. Is this our friend Joe's former property here? Ed?
Joe
Gaza.
Oh, no, this isn't Joe Gaz's property.
Oh,
No.
because it looked like this. You sure?
Property across the street, Eric. And this is a great example of
this
the
was
open grade catwalk. This open grade catwalk is really extensive and it works very well. You get the vegetation growing up right through it. No problem. Vegetation works beautifully.
This is right across from the Quag Dock.
Oh, right across from the Quag Dock?
Yes.
Okay, so it's similar to Mr. Gaz's piece over there. It was only to be used for recreational purposes, the property?
Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, it looks very similar.
Yeah, I mean, James and I went down there and there was a bunch of it that needed to be repaired, and they should be able to do the repairs before somebody gets hurt walking on that.
Yeah, no, I was just curious as to where it was because I didn't see the overall. Okay.
That should advance.
Looks good, yeah.
You want to go to the next one?
Yep. Sure.
Scott,
Okay,
we're
thanks.
advancing that?
Yeah, definitely advance it. Yes.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Lisa.
guys. I'm signing off.
You got another one now.
You.
Who's doing?
Another one.
Yeah, you got 4 Fair Oaks Drive. Is that you?
Oh, that is, yeah, I'm with that as well. Yes.
Running away. You've got a proposal to construct a fixed catwalk and a seasonal float dock to allow for waterfront recreation on the property. The catwalk 4x58 to be constructed from open grade decking and will be elevated 26 inches above mean high water and 4 feet above vegetated wetlands. Seasonal float components to consist of 3x15 ramp and a 6x20 float, extending perpendicular from shoreline. Landward edge proposed float is sided with minimum water depth 2.5. A 4x50 natural path is proposed to access this catwalk. Existing dock and piles on site are to be removed. And then there's a lot of details here that the board can look at. You want to speak to this?
Yeah, I think we've met all the Blue Brook criteria. I think the only question we had was the width of the waterway, which the whole width of the waterway at that spot is 187 feet. From the end of the proposed dock to the other shoreline is 142 feet. And if you look at the soundings in this area, it drops off very, very significantly as you head out. Like we have the float set at 2.5 feet, but the seaward end of the float is at 4 feet. That's how much the depth drops off there. So anyway, I think it's a good plan. That's for sure.
James and I looked at it extensively, and the only thing that we wanted to make sure that we had to be able to show the board was that distance to the other shoreline when you get into these more narrower areas. But you're correct. We have met all the tests that we were looking for, but I wanted the board to have a full and complete set of information so that they could make a decision to advance or not.
Now, where's this? A Stone Creek?
Yeah, it's over in Stone.
I'm not familiar with the road. Can you scroll out a little bit there so I can see where we are?
Bay Avenue.
Oh, okay. It's off of Bay then. There's new roads in there, so I'm not familiar with that road.
Yeah, you got to wiggle.
On the west side of Stones Creek, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So because of the site, the way it looks when you see it on the map, it looks like it's narrow and choked down, which is why we requested that the additional information distances be added for the board's edification to make a good decision. And that's why we held it and requested that, which he has provided.
Yeah, there's plenty of navigation. It's not open bay, so it's
correct.
Okay.
It's a deep channel all the way up to the road, Eric, all the way to Montauk Highway.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very deep in there.
It is. When you look at it at first on the overhead, you definitely want to get a measurement on there, which he has provided, which meets all the tests. So I think it can advance.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Now I'm leaving.
Okay.
Now you're leaving.
So, do any of the trustees want to bring up any other issues? Ed, start with you first. You have anything?
Other than it was a nice, quiet weekend around Hampton Bays. I went to East Landing, West Landing, Cold Springs. The only place there was any congestion as far as lots of cars and people was the Alton Kirk Park on the west side of the inlet. That's the county park. But all of the trustee facilities were pretty quiet. People were, going with the 6-foot distancing and everything, and it was a good weekend compared to the previous weekend. So that's about it.
Town seemed to have everything pretty much in control.
Yes.
Yep. What's up, Scott? Have anything?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to bring up is that if there was a way that we could all work together with the office staff included and get those stickers out to the commercial boats, I think that would be a good thing. I've been noticing a lot of activity on the commercial side, and I'm not quite sure. And I think that if we instituted that, it would be more helpful for the constables and even us as trustees to be able to, see, what's going on and know that activity is a permitted activity, a permitted payment on our bottom. So I know that these are tough times and there's a lot going on, but I really think from an enforcement and protection of resources, tool, if there was a way we could do that, I think it would be good. So
all right, I'll talk to Lisa and get back to you guys on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, because there's a lot of new faces on the bay the last couple of years. We've had some nice sets of clams, and it's very difficult for the the bay constables to know everybody's faces and everybody's boats. With some kind of a sticker, it would just make it a no-brainer for them just to drive by and see it. Or have it as a same on the standard side on each boat. So whether they're on a trailer, in the water, it's an easy way to verify who they are.
Even for us as trustees, all, took an oath as special bay constables. And, I take protecting the resources of the town very seriously. And, I'm looking at things and noticing things, and I'm not sure. So I've made a couple of phone calls. Hey, what's going on here and there? But it would be pretty cut and dry, if I could grab the binoculars and go, all right, I see that at least it has a sticker on the vessel. It is a permitted vessel, versus I don't know who that is, So that's all. And I get it. We're all busy. We're all pressed. There's a lot of things going on. Pandemic things in the country are tough right now. But like I said, I just want to protect the resources and provide whatever tools I can to the bay constables on the law enforcement end and our trustees and special bay constables to be able to help do that. We can work together on it. That's the only thing that I would say. And I'm continuing to work on the Bay Avenue project as well with the contractors. So I got that going on too. So, Bay Crest Avenue. Go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Brookhaven, Islip, back in the heyday when Patchogue Bay was, where there was 8,000 or 9,000 baymen up there, they had 8,000 or 9,000 placards on their boats. So it's something that they needed back then. And I think it's something, like you say, to protect our resources for the townspeople. I think, and it has been brought to me from other baymen and also the bay constables as a tool for them. So I think it's important that we follow up on this. We've had a discussion for 2 years now, and I think it's time that we enacted something more, something that would work. Like a
I was out,
Okay.
like all of you have been out on your patrols, I would say, or you're out, watching your areas, and I'm trying to make heads or tails out of certain things. And it's, we could make it a little bit easier on all of us, I think. That's all.
All right. The only problem that we've had is we're down one staff member. And since everyone is home and we've got such a good e-permitting system going, that everybody's been swamping the office with e-permits. So the staff's been working on it. They're a little bit behind now because, they're processing all the information. We were on a conference call this morning with we had all the town board and all the other department heads, and we're talking about, gradual reopening of town hall and bringing the staff more into the offices now. And we're also in the middle of our big move now. As you know, we moved into the auditorium, and then the staff's been spending the last couple of days boxing up all the files that we had to work on and putting them back to the office. And at the same time, having all the boxes coming back from being electronically scanned so we can access our records better. So it's been a little bit of a tough time. But we haven't forgotten about it, and I'll discuss it with Lisa and see what we can come up with.
Can I make a suggestion? If we don't initiate it for 2020, how about when we do it for 2021, when the baymen come in to get their 2021 permits, have it available for them so they get their permit and they get a sticker that goes on their boat at the same time. That's the one to do it.
That would be good.
That's all I just thought about it.
Lisa, do you want to chime in? Do you want to chime in on anything with this? You're muted, Lisa.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
The workload, Ann, is that what you want me to expound on?
No, we were talking about getting in those, the discussion was that having a little bit of difficulty determining what vessels belong commercially working on the waters. And it would be, I'm just saying that if there's some way, shape, or form we could get those decals to the commercial fishermen, it'll help us out as trustees. It'll help the community out, protect the resource. And it'll certainly help the constables out in making a determination on whether the vessel's a licensed vessel or not. And we're saying it, I know we're short-staffed and busy and all what's going on. It's just that if there's some way we could all come together to get it to work out, I think there would be a great long-term benefit to us all. And I don't think we need thousands of these things. I think we need, 100 of these or something like that. So if there's some, idea that we could all get our heads together as things are starting to maybe loosen up a bit, I think it would be beneficial for the trustees to put that into practice.
Well, we've explored the possibility right now, and it'll work, as to putting another template on the existing 4x4 permit or the ramp permit, to just put another language on there, so we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. So just have to shift over to that and put commercial bayman permit or something like that. So that's doable. It's just the applications, making sure they go to the right people, and catching up on all these permits that normally come in through the year at certain times, but now they're all coming in on a faster, consolidated time because people are home and they're doing it from home.
In the last 6 weeks, we've processed 1,254 permits, which I think is an extraordinary amount of work for the staff, considering that we're down 2 part-time employees and we're only at 25% staffing in the office. So I think that's an incredible amount of work that this office is completing, considering the circumstances. So I could speak to Ross Baldwin and see if there's some type of a combo permit that we could come up, like Eric suggested, maybe tagging on to the 4x4, a boat ramp, or some other.
Yeah, I would use the new template. That's probably the easiest way to
I'd
do it.
have to, I'd have to speak to IT. So give me a chance to try and work that out, Scott.
Yeah, speak to IT, and then let's circle back on what it is that we need to do, because like I said, I'm not going to reiterate. I believe it to be really important, and I think that we need to, keep the ship nice and tight here, and I think this will help us. So, see what you can do, and then give me a call.
Okay.
If I can help you, let me know. If I got to come in and help you, if they have a template and someone's got to come, whatever, just give me a call. Let me know. Okay.
Okay, Scott, I will. Thank you.
Once we get back in the office, I think things should level out a little bit. But we're in the middle of this big moving all our records back from our temporary position when they were working on the town hall. So the staff had to take almost a whole day out of completely shutting down just to box the things up, and then they'll have to have another day to put everything back in order and everything. So at least, so
yes,
I think, and then working out. There's been a backlog of people that want to come in that have certain problems that, with their applications, and they really need to speak to someone in person. So we're working out those details of how that's going to work when the town hall theoretically opens up at next Monday. So there's a lot of transition periods going on right now. So hopefully in about 2 weeks. And I also wanted to bring up that we should consider at the next meeting. So we extended all the permits to June 15th. I'm going to propose that we look at that again at the next meeting, the possibility of extending it out a little bit further to give the office some breathing room, because it's not only the permits that the issue, but we also have the application for bulkheads, and they're going to be coming in once the contractors can start working again. And,
And historically, the busy season in our office is the week before July. So you got to take 4th of July. So we have to take that into consideration on top of everything.
well, hopefully a lot of people got their permits already now. They're in the line.
Let's hope.
Yep.
we're down 2 staff members as well. So we're down 2 staffing members. So we're really operating at a very, very skeletal staff to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So
We'll work it out. We'll make it go. Okay, Bill, you got anything?
Yes, Sabonic, North Sea, parts of Cold Spring was all quiet over the past weekend. I want to thank the maintenance crew and Richie Franks for putting the signs up at Agawam Park for the church people on Sunday for parking until no permit required until 12:30, I think it is. That's about it.
Yeah, Bay Council did a great job in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, really put out, they always do put a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, right. Ann, you got anything?
Couple things.
Yep.
So both SAG and MECOX are closed at this point. However, they both are filling. James, can you give us just a little bit of an update as far as the plover situation at both locations?
Yes, so SAG has one nest in sort of the immediate area of where the cut is. The estimated hatch date is 6/26, and then that would mean the estimated fledge date would be 7/21.
Okay.
MECOX, there's two nests in the area. The closest one has an estimated hatch date of 6/6, which is this week, and a estimated fledge date of July 1st. The other ones farther down shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. We may have to, so on both the gauges, the black line behind the orange indicator opening line is where the water is at both SAG and MECOX. So we may have to start moving in the direction, especially with an anticipated fledge date of July 1st of attempting to open MECOX during plover season, which is no easy feat. Thanks, James, for that. Couple quick things. On Friday, June 5th from 2 to 4, there's a Zoom training program for Diamondback terrapin monitoring. You may recall several years ago, there was a die-off of the Diamondback terrapins over in the Flanders area. And this is it's a great educational opportunity to teach what the turtles look like, how to see where they've been, how to monitor them, and then there's a survey for them. So that's Friday, June 5th, 2 to 4. Peconic Estuary Program's website has information about it. Last Thursday, May 28th, Dr. Gobler did his State of the Bays his annual State of the Bays presentation. He did it via Zoom. There were, I think, approximately 150 participants. It was very well attended. It's available on YouTube, and he gives some very current information if you were interested. A year ago, in June of 2019, a collaboration between Dr. Gobler's lab, Southampton Village, and the Southampton trustees, town trustees, permitted the installation of a water quality monitoring buoy in Lake Agawam, the initial buoy, and some good information was gathered from that last year, primarily about nutrient levels, water temperature, dissolved oxygen, and thank you to the Lake Agawam Conservancy. There was another buoy installed about 2 weeks ago in Lake Agawam, and that is an upgraded buoy, and there's live stream information available on that buoy if one were interested. Ed, did you want to talk about the Scout meeting at all?
The Scout meeting, which?
The Scout, the Suffolk County Aquaculture.
Oh, yes. There's been a few, there were 10 years of the aquaculture program running. And basically they have done a, how would you say, a floating aquaculture program in eastern part of the town waters, East Hampton Gardeners. Quite a few people have had negative comments about navigation, about the buoys and the sites. It's something that I feel that the aquaculturists and the Suffolk County should reach out as a public outreach educational program and really reach out to the boaters and mariners out east and apprise them of what's going on. Initially, when the aquaculture program first started, the floating aquaculture systems weren't even really used. They're starting to be used more and more now, and they are issues with navigation or potential issues. All of these sites are put on navigational maps, charts, and mariners should be knowledgeable enough to recognize them and not sail through them. But evidently, there's a few people in East Hampton, Devon Yacht Club, and a few of the other people out east that have issues with them, and they want them to really draw back on the amount of aquaculture projects that are being used out there. There's only like 6 or 7 or 5 or 6 a year that they've allowed. Over 10 years, it's only going to be like 60 more possible aquaculture sites. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put them in small areas, because there's only certain areas that the aquaculture sites really work. They found that the deeper water in Gardeners Bay is not good for growing the shellfish. That's why they brought them up on the surface. They grow much quicker, and then they put them down below to finish up their grow outs. It's something that, we don't have too much of an issue in our town with, even though that we have the canal and that navigational channel east and west of Flanders and east to Gardeners Bay. Most of the aquaculture sites are out away from the channel. When you get out east, they are away from the channel, but most people don't recognize actual channels out there. They just want to sail or drive in a certain direction with their vessels, and they don't care whether it's in their way or not. So again, I think it's something that the aquaculturists and the aquaculture program should really be out in the forefront, educating the public on what's going on and future uses of the bays out there. I know, Billy, you've done aquaculture in Cold Springs and maybe some in Peconic, not to the level of these other people. They've taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, yes, good thing you brought it up. Last week when I was going cruising, I've been cruising back and forth to Greenport to go fishing, and I go past some of the sites. Some are very well marked, and some are not marked. And that's one of the problems. They have to be well enough marked so you see them with the corner of the yellow buoys. Most of them have it. There's one that don't have it, and you just think it's conch traps when you go through it, and they're not conch traps. They're floaters and sinkers there. So you have to be very careful. Some of these boats are going very fast, 40 knots across the over the water. And it's the same thing with kayaks. You don't see the kayaks until you're right on top of them. Even if you're doing 18 knots like I cruise at, you really have to look out for the kayaks and where the oysters grow at are. They have to be marked a little bit better, I would think, because some of these guys are going way too fast.
Well, when Chuck Steidel had Coastal Farms outside of North Sea, he had yellow buoys. They were 3-foot diameter buoys, and they were bright enough and big enough of a structure so you could see them for miles away. Maybe this is something that they should, a recommendation from us, using a larger, brighter buoy in order to delineate their gear, because there's a lot of user groups out, and the further out east you go, the more user groups. Up in the bay, there's some conch fishermen and some trap fishermen and some oyster fishermen. But when you get to Shelter Island and Points East, there's a lot more conch fishermen, there's lobster fishermen, there's fish pots out there, and there's oyster gear. So there's multiple uses of different types of buoys and floating devices. And it's an educational component that should have been thought about before they embarked on these aquaculture programs. I know there's certain regulations that they're supposed to follow, and
I think
you probably know better than.
Yeah, I think you had a very good idea to make the corner balls, the yellow ones, a lot larger, and also like how the oyster farms used to do it years ago. They used to put whips with flags on the corner of the
Yes.
That might be a good.
Those are great suggestions. On the Suffolk County website, there are extensive maps that show different user groups and the location of these either existing or proposed oyster grow out sites. And if you were interested, under Suffolk County Aquaculture 10-year review project. So that was an interesting meeting the other day.
Yes, that's to say the least.
So good thing you brought up oysters. I talked to this week Chris Pickerel Fred Gravara and Kim Tetrault from Cornell. Very excited about putting out some oyster cages out in, I guess we're going to call it Pine Avenue Canal off of Lawn Neck instead of Fantasy Drive Canal. I think it'd be more appropriate Pine Ave. They're very excited. It's got that, they feel that it would be an excellent area for growing juvenile oysters up to a certain size to be put out, and seeing that it's close to all those county leases, it might work out pretty good.
Yeah, and just a little bit of local knowledge, Eric. When I started working the water back in the early 70s up there were a lot of oysters in Birch Creek and Goose Creek. And,
I remember, yeah.
You know, literally, you could just get out of a boat and catch a bushel of them within minutes. So maybe we could reestablish those oysters in the meadows again, which would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, very good. And then also, as a public benefit, as an oyster grow out area, you could probably get that big sandbar dredged to a certain extent off that canal.
To improve.
Well, that would be good. Then we can get access to it.
Right.
To improve title exchange.
Well, not only that, but to if it is going to be an area where we're growing out oysters that the small boats can get up into in the first place. It's very difficult to navigate into the canal. It gets a lot of water flow, but not enough for navigation. So, even if it's a small channel, it'd be great. So I think the neighborhood's very supportive of it.
Okay. It's a positive thing for everybody up there.
Yep. So, anything else?
It's been a long time coming, Eric.
Yes, definitely.
I have a quick correction on those dates I gave you. The closest nest to Meacock's Cut is the estimated hatch date is 6/28, and then the estimated fledge date would be 7/23. The farther one is the 6/6 and the 7/1 date. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for the correction, James.
So while you're on, how are we doing this year with the plovers? Are we
Good.
ahead, behind? You know,
We've only lost like 3 or 4 nests so far, so that's a good sign. Hopefully we don't lose any more.
Okay.
Affect our numbers.
Compared to other years.
Correct.
How are we doing as far as compared to other years?
Good. We're on track. We're on the same track as other years, essentially.
How is the plover nesting in the picnic area this year?
Since there was quite a bit of erosion last year or this winter down there, there wasn't that much activity early in the spring. So we haven't really had any activity down there. I think the closest nest is between Road G, the picnic area, and Road D.
Okay. Thank you.
Has Fish and Wildlife indicated where we are as far as, the numbers involved, with the Endangered Species Act about, taking these off at some point? I know they were trying to get a certain projection of.
That's a regional decision. James, back me up on this. It's a regional decision, and
I know that. I just was wondering if they had.
I think that the number they were after is still yet to be met. So, right, James?
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't take it off the endangered species list, so it's not met.
We can get back to you on that, Eric.
Yeah, I would
just as long as everybody else is doing their part and we're not doing the lion's share of this,
Oh, we are. We are.
Yeah.
Where are we on getting the federal take permit for the opening of Meacock's and Sag?
Nowhere.
No, we gotta reinstitute a discussion.
Yeah, I think that really complicates things.
Yeah, that's a hours-long discussion. Right? I mean, that's Big Bear.
Exactly. Yes.
I can give you a little bit of an update maybe at the next meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm good. I think, anything beyond that, if you need something, any of the trustees, I'm just a phone call away.
Okay. I just
grateful to everyone working together to quell the situation that existed at the Bay Beaches the last couple of weekends.
It was a big effort amongst
people put a
all
lot
the
of time
town
in.
All the agencies. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it easy?
No.
So I'd like to close the meeting, make a motion to close the meeting and go into executive session for no more than 5 minutes.
5 minutes,
Yeah,
okay.
5 minutes.
All right.
You can, might be
For the
4
purposes of?
for the purposes of discussing litigation.
Are we
Thank you.
calling in on that?
No, we'll stay on this. It's just general. I just want to ask you a couple of questions.
Thank you.
It
Fine.
might even be 4.32 minutes. I don't know.
All right, I'll
I'm gonna
second
start
that
the
then.
timer.
Okay.
Second.
Ed, you the
All
second?
in,
Yes.
all in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.